I guess when you grow up in L.A., almost everyone you knew became famous. Like you grew up with Charlie Sheen,
right?
Tom Cruise in that group.
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert
in my junior high school is Downey, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Sean Penn, Chris Penn, Holly Robinson, Pete. It was just a weird time. A time and place for people. I think they just came out of that moment.
When you were growing up with those people, did you think, wow, like this is an exceptional bunch of people, or did they just seem like everybody's goofball?
They just seem like everybody's a goofball.
You described that when you were growing up with Charlie Sheen. Now, his father was famous, Martin Sheen, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you grew up around all these famous kids, but you weren't a wealthy kid.
Well, Malibu in those days was populated by, teachers and firemen and just, regular people. It was way before the agents and studio executives moved in. You might get somebody famous, but they'd be like a whacked out rock star who you'd see like wandering the highway.
Were you jealous of these kids who like being friends with Charlie Sheen? To me, when you're one of the poor friends, that's really tough.
I remember Charlie for his 16th birthday got a BMW car, and I was like, wow, he got a car for his birthday, and it was a brand new BMW, and that they always had Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Right.
And I was like, wow, this is it. This is living.
And that's hard to grow up around, right? I had a couple of friends who had wealth.
He had a pool in the backyard.
And don't you start to feel resentful? Like you're like, well, I didn't get handed any of these.
No,
things.
I went the other way with it. That's the thing. I was always really aspirational, and I was like, oh, got it. You can have Haagen-Dazs. Oh, got it. You can have a pool. And it just made me want to work harder.
Why did Charlie Sheen go to school with a bulletproof vest? Was that because his father was afraid that he would get hurt, or was it that Charlie Sheen had a delusional sort of...
Hart, I just vividly remember, I don't remember the lead up, but I vividly remember with our little lunch sacks on the quad at Santa Monica High School, and Charlie, who was an early adopter of both bulletproof vests and Polo cologne, sitting there just sweating but smelling great.
Right.
And saying, dude, it's just so hot. I got this on today. And it was a bulletproof vest.
Did you think he was a whack job, or were you attracted to him in the sense that, like, wow, this is just the greatest kid ever?
Greatest kid ever. Without a doubt, the greatest kid ever.
But I still am amazed by people with charmed lives, which I consider you one of. Like, you were friends with JFK Jr., right? When did you meet him?
I met him at, I think, skiing in 1 year.
And you became close friends, right?
Oh, no, I met... Yes, that's right. And he was great. He was a lovely, lovely, charismatic, as we all know, guy.
I know people who know JFK Jr. and I know people who tell me, like, in college, that girls, he would sit in a room and girls would take a number and wait in line to meet him. I mean, that's how fucking crazy
it was like his Baskin Robbins.
But you can't have a normal life, with women anyway, and a social life, when it's that easy. And I can imagine the two of you parading around.
Can you imagine?
It must have been like the Beatles walked in the room.
In the first book I wrote, I tell a story about that when I was young and single and sort of, wanting to party and find out what was going on. And I went up to JFK Jr. I said, okay, what's the plan tonight? And he was like, I don't know, man, we got to go find the girls. And I was just remember being agog. And I said to him, dude, you're JFK Jr. You don't have to go find any girls.
The girls will find you.
Get a clue.
I mean, he would
Mr.
go on
Camelot.
Yeah, he would go on a plane, and women would just throw themselves.
Yeah,
he
was really extraordinary.
And he was the closest thing to royalty this country's ever had.
Yeah,
right?
He was. And then,
where were you when you heard he died?
Later on, as luck would have it, I found myself with a pilot of a TV show. Sort of going to be hopefully one of my comebacks. I hadn't been on the cover of a major magazine in over a decade.
Wow.
And JFK Jr. put me on the cover of George magazine for The West Wing before the show had ever even aired, and it was the last cover he made before he died.